Welcome to the Country Fried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. The podcast that will connect you to resources regionally and nationwide to engage them in open, honest discussions so that we can inspire the growth that you need to chase the experience you want. So strap yourself in because here we go. Hello, everyone. This is Shon Smith of the Chasing Your Experience podcast. We have another exciting episode for you guys because I got contacted by this individual on TikTok. So if you don't know TikTok or you haven't seen us on TikTok, check us out there. But this individual got a hold of me on TikTok. And well, actually, between a conversation between us, we wanted to bring him onto the podcast. He's got a lot of information and a really cool service that he provides that I think anyone who's a DIYer hunter that's looking to go out of state, or maybe even just looking for stuff in their own state to kind of help them out, through a planning process to kind of give an idea how to hunt an area. And this is the service this guy brings. So everyone help me welcome Shon Ingram from HuntTrapTN. Shon, how are you, sir?
Hey, Shon, how are you, buddy? Good to be here.
We finally have rain on the forecast. So I am actually excited. Don't know if I've ever been excited for rain, but
well, I'll tell you, it's funny you should say that because I was really contemplating on whether I should even put food plots out this year because the rain has been it's either been so hard that it washes all the seed out or it's been so dry that nothing grows. So, I plant late anyway up here on my property. So I'm still kind of up in the air whether I want to do it or not. I may do some kill plots, but as far as some big plots, I don't know that I'm going to do it this year because the rain is just not here. So,
yeah. Obviously it sounds like you guys are kind of experiencing the same thing we are here in Ohio.
Yeah.
So Southeast Ohio has been in the news. I'm sure Kentucky and a few other places in that area has been in there too because of a huge EHD breakout, huge outbreak. It's been so bad. And I don't know how it is down there for you guys, but it's been so bad here because typically once the state, so say the ODNR or Division of Wildlife, the commissioners get together and they approve bag limits for the year. That's usually, that's set. Like there's nothing that's going to change that. I guess it's so bad that they are considering, if they haven't already, I haven't seen the news for it yet, but they are considering probably revisiting the bag limits. It's that bad down in Southeast Ohio.
Changing the bag limits. That's crazy. Fingers crossed. We haven't seen EHD here in East Tennessee yet.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on the West Tennessee side, up towards Kentucky and that type thing, they're starting to see an influx of it. But thankfully, we haven't seen anything here. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think the deer population here in East Tennessee is just not as big as other areas. So I don't know that it's transmitted as easy in the East Tennessee area. So, that's at least something to be thankful for. But I was talking to a guy the other day and he said he was driving through Southern Ohio and it was just, you could smell the stench of the deer. I mean, you could driving along the waterways and the roadways. I mean, it was just crazy, he said.
Yeah, but I've heard that before. And I've got a hunting trip planned with my youngest son, not hunting trip, but a hiking trip with my youngest son for this weekend. We usually go down towards Marietta and some of the national forest down there. There's a big 14-mile loop trail that we usually do an overnight, backpack trip on. So we'll just pack enough for the 2 days and camp out overnight. And I'm like, I don't know. I've not heard anything. It's I don't know if I'm not worried about getting sick or anything like that. I don't know if the atmosphere is going to be, if we want to deal with the stench of that. So if that's the case, that's what's really happened around there. Cause that hike does involve some waterways. So,
yeah.
And unfortunately that's where the deer want to go because they're overheating and, to get cooled off. And unfortunately the virus eventually, kills them. And that's why you find them in the water like that. But
and it's funny to me too, is here in East Tennessee, we have those midge gnats that
Hmm.
are that are causing that, but we don't have the I don't think we have the deer numbers for it. So
Yeah.
it's crazy.
I think you're spot on with that because, well, if you look at any type of virus based like disease or anything, right? The virus needs a host, and if there's not adequate enough a host around it, it's hard for it to replicate and continue on, right? So that's, you see high populous areas, and I don't want to, talk about humans and be all down on humans, but you see high population rates of humans in areas. Well, diseases can run
Prominent.
through that, real quick, right?
Right.
Just because of just the population, and it's not necessarily like the number of deer; it's the number of deer in that certain area. The rate of deer is that's what the problem is. And Southeast Ohio, I mean, Ohio has a lot of deer, and we. I just recently released a podcast I did with the deer administrator program, the deer program administrator from the state of Ohio. Well, he's retired now, but he was currently in seat when we did the episode, and he's talking about just the rate of deer. Like we seriously need to start reducing the numbers of does that we have to help reduce those rates. And that's one of those reasons behind that is because the
Right.
ease of disease to spread because of that population rate. So you are definitely spot on with, well, I'll say it this way. I believe you are spot on with what you said there. And that's one of the contributing factors why it's not as bad for you guys yet.
Right. Right. And I crossing my fingers, like I said, I really hope it doesn't get here because that the population here is not that great anyway. But
Hmm.
we've got some. I mean, don't get me wrong, we've got some big mountain deer here, but the overall population is not all that great. So
Well, come to Ohio.
yeah, I'd love to. I actually come to Cleveland. I have to drive to Cleveland every year.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I
I'm
don't
sorry.
enjoy that, but I enjoy driving through Ohio. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, Ohio is an interesting state. We have a lot of different topographies depending upon
Yeah.
rather what between north of 70 or south of 70, and then east of 71 or west of 71.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
yeah, that seems to be that those two dividing highways kind of really changes the topography that you deal
It
with in Ohio.
does. It really and it's funny because it's funny you should say that because even driving, you can tell the difference.
Hmm.
Driving up from Tennessee and that type thing, how the topography changes so much. It's a
Yeah,
pretty cool state actually. So
it is. As soon as you hit west of 71, it's flat, and you're like, huh?
yeah,
You can
yeah,
send the mountain
exactly.
through the foothills in this place. I'm like, once you head over there, not so much. But yeah,
Yeah,
it is an interesting state, the difference of the types of topography that we deal with, or that we have here, and that you any type of hunt you want, like if you want more ag land, you can head out west because we have agriculture here in Tuscarawas County. Like we have a lot of ag fields here. Don't get me wrong, but as you go west, like they're much larger swaths of those agriculture lands because it's flatter out there.
right.
Here we know we have the rolling hills, and the further south you go, like down towards Marietta, and that you are going to deal with bigger hills because now you're getting into the real foothills of the
Mhm,
Appalachians. So
mhm.
so yeah, there's a lot of different changes in the topography here in view, and it's an interesting state for sure to what you can get into here. But we're not here to talk about Ohio, obviously. We're here to talk about Shon Ingram and what you have to offer down with your HuntTrapTN. So, sir, you are a first timer on the podcast, and we definitely hope to have you back again. So, but I want to give you the opportunity to kind of introduce yourself and a little bit of background about yourself.
Okay. Um, well, I've been hunting a whitetail deer since I was probably 9 years old. I grew up in central Alabama and specifically in Dallas County, which has some humongous deer down there. And I grew up in a hunting club down there. Spent my entire life in this hunting club with my dad, and then went off to college. Went to Auburn University, got a degree in healthcare management, and bounced all over the Southeast after I graduated from college, doing different jobs in that healthcare sector, management sector. Always deer hunted, and long story short, ended up here in East Tennessee. Um, and the deer hunting here in East Tennessee is a lot different than it is in Central Alabama. You can literally get You can literally sit in a stand in Alabama and see 15, 25 deer on a sit. Here in East Tennessee, in some places, you're lucky to see 5 or 6, 10 a season.
Mhm.
So the type of deer hunting that I was used to, it was just different. So at that point, I kind of got into trapping, specifically trapping raccoon, beaver, that type thing. Got into the trapping side because the deer hunting was just so different here. And I started after I'd been here in East Tennessee for a while. I started my own bait and lure business. It was actually called English Mountain Lures. We basically catered to dog proof trappers um, that trapped raccoon with dog proof traps. And had that for about 6 years. And then the fur market kind of fell out. So I closed that business, and then I started focusing on hunting again. By trade, I'm a firefighter paramedic for the city of Gatlinburg. I know you're a cop. I'm sorry. There's donuts at the house, so we'll share with you. I promise. But
Uh,
firefighter paramedic, I get plenty of days off. I work 24/48, so I'm able to spend a lot of time in the woods, and that's the way I like it. I'm 52 years old. I'm starting to get older, and I enjoy my time off.
mhm.
Uh, I enjoy being out in the woods, hunting and trapping, and that's kind of why I started the website, HuntTrapTN.com, and it's a multi-directional website. It's for hunters and trappers. And when I first started it, I started it about probably a year and a half ago. And I had been, like I said, I had content out there that was trapping related, that was hunting related, that was on YouTube, on my personal channel. And I had all this knowledge out there from over the years on both sides.
Mhm.
And I thought, there's got to be a way to put all of this together. So I branded the website and started pulling all of that into a central location. I have my own Facebook page. I actually have a Facebook group that was originally started when I had my bait and lure business. The Dog Proof Trapper is the name of the group.
Okay.
And it's now attracting hunters and trappers to that group. And I use that to feed my page, my Facebook page, and my website.
Okay.
So it's probably got 10,000 subscribers on it.
Nice.
It's been around for a while.
So I wanted to jump back, because you made a mention, and I just want to cycle back to it. So I've heard Alabama deer are kind of like on crack, like they are super skittish, and
Oh yeah.
like uh, I'm a bow hunter, like I almost strictly bow hunt. Like every now and again, I'll take the lever action out here in Ohio,
Hmm.
but I love bow hunting, like
Right.
very very heavy bow hunting, and I've heard now I not advocating this, but I've heard. So I ask an Alabama boy first that you actually want to aim pretty low on a deer in Alabama because they're almost guaranteed to jump the string.
Yes, that is actually very true. I am not a bow hunter.
Okay,
Simple and here's the only reason I don't bow hunt. I don't like hunting in hot weather. I just
fair enough.
I just don't. I hate mosquitoes. I'm one of those type people that I don't know if my skin is sweet or something, but I can step outside and just get ate up. So that's the reason I've never bow hunted. It's just too hot.
Nope, I
But
get you.
I will tell you that all of my buddies back home in Alabama, they say the deer, as soon as they hear that release go off, they will jump straight up in the air. So you have
Really?
have to adjust for that. I don't know
Hey,
why that is, but I have heard that numerous times.
yeah, we got our deer. It's like almost 50-50 if they're going to if they react to the shot or not. And some it depends on the time of year too. Here, like if you start getting into the late season,
Right.
they're all uptight. Like the wind, if the wind blows the wrong direction, I'm not talking about like blow from you to them. I'm just like, it just changes direction all of a sudden. They're
Right,
gone
right.
during the late
They
season.
call
Like
it nap.
they're, they're, they're out, right? So I'm assuming that's got to be a similar experience to hunting Alabama. But
Yeah.
and then another thing I wanted to touch on real quick is, so what was the outside of the deer density population, between coming from Alabama to Tennessee? And this is just something, I'm curious of this too. What was one of the big differences you came across that you said was different between Alabama and Tennessee? So what were some of your hunting strategies that changed, moved from Alabama to Tennessee?
Okay. So the biggest thing for me has been terrain.
Okay.
Just the terrain factor, because I grew up hunting in a hunting club. Okay.
Mhm.
We had set stand locations. We had shooting houses. We had a sign-in book, and you had your favorite shooting house, and that's where you went. And we hunted strictly. We hunted some. Well, I take that back. We hunted a good bit of food plots, but we also hunted a lot of clear cuts.
Mhm.
So the you here in East Tennessee and where I'm hunting now, I've actually got um I've actually got 40 acres behind my house that is family property, and then I have recently gotten access to about 1900 acres a little bit further up the road.
Good problem to have.
It's all mountainous terrain.
Hmm.
Unless you are hunting like logging roads or creek bottoms or something like that, you're gonna be climbing hills.
Hmm.
That's the biggest difference for me
Hmm.
is, and I say Alabama spoiled me, and it may be a little bit of the case, but the type of hunting that you do here in Tennessee is totally different from anything back home. Is because you're hunting mountainous regions. And don't get me wrong, there are places in East Tennessee that are flat, that are
Hmm.
rolling hills that are a lot easier. But the places that I typically hunt, I hunt mountain deer. I hunt deer that have never seen a human being before. And for instance, 2 days ago, I went and put out a camera that it took me almost 45 minutes from my house just to ride to this spot, because I had to go all the way up the mountain
Hmm.
and then down the ridge line put this in this spot. So I mean, the access factor and the terrain factor is the biggest thing here in Tennessee.
Gotcha. So did you notice a big difference in how thermals work in
Uh,
that area versus Alabama?
we didn't even bother with thermals in Alabama.
Hmm.
Okay, I mean, you got to remember, I grew up down there hunting in the '80s, early '90s, that
Hmm.
type. Thermals weren't a big, huge thing back then, like they are now. Everybody talks about thermals now, but I don't say you don't have to worry about it, but you really have to focus on thermals here in the mountains.
Hmm.
Because it all play because your thermals are going to go up in the morning and they're going to drop in the afternoon. So
Hmm.
depending on where you're going to set up, you have to really put a lot of forethought into where your setup is going to be,
Hmm.
and what those thermals are going to do and what that inversion layer is going to do. The wind direction in the mountains is just quirky. It can be, we've got a prominent northwest wind here, but depending on where you are and how that wind is hitting the mountainside and hitting the ridges and everything, it can be coming from a totally different direction. My best friend is my little puffer that I use to check my
Hmm.
wind directions, because I can look at a map and I can say, okay, this is where I think the wind's going to come from, but I really don't know
Hmm.
until I get to the sand and get set up, and make sure that that's the way it's coming. And your time of day, you got to look the thermals again, that type thing. So it's a big factor in the mountains.
Yeah, it is. I've done several elk hunts in Colorado, and That is one of the most mind-boggling things is the wind. Like,
It is.
just how, I mean, you get the idea. Once you get the idea of the thermals down, like, okay, I kind of understand those, that works, but just the wind, I couldn't tell you how many times the wind has blown a hunt for us
Oh yeah.
on animals. And we were set up good for it. At one moment we were good, but the next thing you know, it wasn't. I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't
And
look.
I'll tell you this, I have gone to not I've got one permanent tree stand that I put up on my property. That's it. I mean, I the rest of my stuff is portable blinds and climbers
Hmm.
because I just don't know with 100% accuracy what that wind's going to be doing once I get into the woods.
Yeah.
So, I'm able to kind of move around a little bit. I do a lot of ground sitting, believe it or not. I've just got a chair that, straps around a tree,
Hmm.
and I'll just figure out the wind direction and go find a tree and strap it on there and just sit. I don't even sometimes I don't even bother with a tree stand because you're constantly fighting wind up here.
Yeah. Yeah, we run into that issue here a little bit. I mean, obviously, it's not as the thermals aren't as drastic as it is in mountains, but we got a little bit of elevation, but we also have like a lot of the drainages and it just the typical hill country type stuff you have to deal with, right? So
Right.
wind is one of those factors that we deal with, and I'm with you. I got away from like a lot of the just the typical like hang stands, just leave them there. A couple of properties I have maybe one that I
Yeah.
actually have hung that's still there. All
Right.
the other, and then I've gotten into saddle hunting. So everything goes in with me and everything comes back out with me. If I don't
Right.
like where I'm at, I move to the next spot.
Right.
And that has worked to my advantage more often than not, because I can think back to one time and that we call him the dick in hand buck. So it's an interesting episode on the podcast, not to do a shameless plug, but what happened is I had a plan A idea. This is where I want to go. I'm going to go set up. And typically we would have a tree stand there, right?
Mm.
And so I'm like, I'm gonna go to this spot. So I start my way up there, and then like, man, the wind just is not right. I don't like the way the wind's blowing up here. It's just not gonna give me the advantage that I think that I need with the idea where I think this deer is gonna come from. So I had my saddle, I had my climbing sticks with me. So I'm like, I'm going to another spot. So I walked down the ridge a little bit to where the wind was in my favor. And I started the process to climb, but I'm like, man, I gotta pee. So before I put the first stick up, I'm like, man, I better go pee. And so I went back off into off to the edge of the tree line. Well, not tree line, but almost the edge of the ridge. And the
Right.
wind's blowing from where I think the deer is going to come from to me. So I'm not, the wind's not a factor at this. So I go ahead and do what I got to do. And long story short, the buck comes in, is starting to walk in while I'm finishing up. I'm like, oh, this is great. So I basically crawl back. I finish zip up, crawl back to my tree, grab my bow. He must have had a mission because I swear to all things that this deer had no clue I was there during all of this. Like, and I don't know why, I don't know how. He was just on a mission apparently. But I was able to crawl back to whatever the 10 yards back to my tree, grab my bow, get an arrow off the quiver, knock it, get my release onto the bow, and now I'm just sitting here waiting for the opportunity. And about 20 yards, I stop him, and that's the only time he realizes I was there because he stops and he looks at me, and then I was already on him with
Yeah.
ready to shoot, and so I
That's
released the
awesome.
arrow. That was it. So we call him the dick in hand buck, but I
There you
understand
go.
where the idea behind the mobility and how winds, if you're not either going to have a lot of stand location set up, or B, you better be mobile and ready to move and be willing to, because you don't know how effective that is if you
Right.
just and that wasn't even a big move. It was just enough to get the wind in my favor. And then if I'd have stayed where I was at, I'd have never got that deer because he'd have smelled me and that'd been the end of it.
One of the things that I have learned over probably the past 5 years or so is how much easier hunting is if you're mobile. Because I was old school. You got to put a food plot here. You got to put a tree stand on that food plot. You got to find these trails. You got to put a lock on right here. That type thing. And I spent a lot of my summer and early fall strategizing, where to put stuff, where to, where to put tree stands, where to put food plots. Now that I'm more mobile, I enjoy hunting more
Mhm.
because I literally throw my climber or throw my chair into the back of the UTV and I'm gone. And I don't have a set location. I don't have, I've got ideas where I've seen deer on camera and where I've seen sign and that type thing. But I don't feel as burdened in my hunting process because I'm so mobile now.
Mhm.
I'm able to go different areas. I think a lot of it is when you a lot of people they try and plan to the nth degree as far as a hunting trip. It doesn't have to be that hard. There are options. There are options out there as far as equipment and as far as ideas that get you out there easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I relate that back to my training days, and this is kind of a law enforcement thing, but we always talked about principles and tactics, right? We always wanted to teach you how to do principles. Like we want to focus on principles. Like the tactics, there are 1,000 different tactics that are going to cover the same principle, right?
Right.
And what I'm hearing you say and what I tell them is like we can sit here, we can plan right down to the exact tactic. However, if something changes and you're that narrowed down, that's
Then
going
what
to
do you
ruin your entire plan. And what's your plan B? Like what have you done? So what you really need to focus on is what's the principle that you need to follow by, and then be adaptable to apply a tactic that will work for that specific situation that is still within that principle. Does that make sense?
It does. You put into very simple words what it just took me 20 minutes to try and explain.
No, no. I think yours is more simplistic than mine. Mine's very, very unique. And if somebody's involved in law enforcement, they get it. But it also covers like almost every game. Like, don't focus so much on that very specific detail. Like, follow the general guidelines and general principles, and be ready to switch. Be adaptable, and that if something's not 100% right, all right. So, case in point, the Dick and handbook, right? Principle was got to hunt to win. I got to hunt this certain area or these certain trails, but I got to hunt to win. I get there. I had a specific tactic put in mind that, all right, so I'm going to go do this. However, that wasn't going to work there. Like that, I would have failed if I had continued on with that very mission or
Right.
that very specific tactic. So I'm like, all right, so let's dial back to the principle. Let's change exactly what we're doing. And then what do you know? We had success with that. So it's about adaptability. All principles, not exact tactics.
And I can tell you, I can't tell you how many times growing up that I sat in a bad stand knowing that it was a bad stand because I had no other options. I had committed to that area. I had
Mhm.
signed into that area. That was where I was gonna hunt. It was a wasted hunt. I mean,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Um, so doing it this way, you've got a lot more options available.
You do. You do. And it's the quick change you need to, because some people like, how many times have you known people tell a story? It's like, man, I picked this stand. It was a perfect location. I'm sitting there and all the deer were like traveling, 50 to 100 yards from me. And I just never got a shot at them. And
Yep.
I'm like, did you try to move? Like, no, this is my stand. This is the stand I picked. Like, this is where I need to be. I'm like, probably should have moved. Probably should have just grabbed your stuff and moved, and you probably been surprised on how effective that had been. So,
And I that brings up another good point. I think that's why scouting is so important as far as getting out there and seeing where the movement is
mhm,
because you've got to go where the deer are, not where you want to be. You know, you've got to 150 yards from where you are is not going to do you any good.
mm-mm,
So getting out there and doing preseason scouting, doing camera scouting, just spending time in the woods, old time woodsmanship, being out in the woods, looking for sign, looking for tracks, looking for trails, getting familiar with your properties, that pays dividends.
It does. We spend too much time, like, there's a lot of people that spend too much time on like technological advances, and they base their entire hunt based upon this. I'm not saying there's not a place for it, and because there is, like, it has improved our efficiency.
Right,
However, a lot of times we have focused too much on that, and we've lost that woodsmanship you just talked about, because it's very easy for any deer. Like, I've got a camera that's in a great spot, but every time I go check it, there's not deer there. You believe in your mind that, well, there's no deer there, so you won't hunt there, or there's no animals here, whatever you're hunting, right?
right,
There's
right.
no animals here. But in fact, they're just not going past that camera,
Not
or
going past
the
the
camera.
camera.
You know,
Exactly.
they're there. If you're not there to see, if you're not there picking up on trails that they're on or that they're using, or how they shift, how their patterns shift throughout the season, you know, I've left cameras out in the woods, and sometimes it was by accident, and we found them later. And
Yep.
so I'm like, oh, I forgot about that camera. So I bring it in, and I've got like months worth of data on this camera now, because of
Yeah.
in seeing the
Yeah.
difference on how deer. And I'm telling you what, I've had some good success based upon that, because now I've got like historical data that tells me, all right, this is about the time that they start cruising through here. So so I won't waste time going in there until then, right? You know,
Same.
I might have all this sign is saying the deer's there, have been there, but for the deer I'm looking for isn't showing up there until this point in time. So I'm gonna
Right.
go then. So
Yeah.
I can see the argument for both sides of that, but you are 100% correct that nothing beats being out there in the woods, getting that knowledge yourself.
Exactly.
And it's
Exactly.
hard, and it's hard for some people, especially if you go to out of state. Like, I live in Ohio. For me to go out and scout Colorado, I don't have the time nor the money to do that. I could
That's
probably
right.
have the time. I just don't have the money to do that, because it's expensive to go out there, to fly out and fly back, or rent a vehicle, or drive out there. That's, almost $600-700 in gas just to drive out there and back, not including the wear and tear on my vehicle. And then where am I going to stay? Am I going to camp while I'm there, or am I going to stay in a hotel? All these expenses and stuff.
Right.
Where which is so I understand that aspect of it, where it's hard to get out there, where digital scouting becomes a good tool. I think, but the issue though is with digital scouting for some people is that they just focus on one spot, like, and they do all this work and effort on one spot. I'm like, this is exactly where we're going to go. This is exactly what I'm going to do, and I'm not going to do anything else from that. And we've almost gotten in trouble because of that. Not legally in trouble, but we went to one spot and that I've done a lot of scouting in. Or when we went to Colorado, I'm like, this is where we're going to be. This is what we're going to do. We get there, and there's a sheep herd in there. Like, there's, we tried to thug it out. We tried to hunt it. It's just no sign of elk. We've seen mule deer, but no elk. We weren't able to find them. And I'm like, we got to move. Like, we got to move to another spot. And if we'd have been uber committed to that one spot, like how most people did, we'd have spent a week there and not seen or heard anything, and
Anything. Yeah.
been disappointed. So we packed up and went back to town, and then we went to another location. And I kid you not, we woke up at 3 o'clock that morning, the elk bugling all over us. So we got into elk almost immediately after that move. And so that's where digital scouting can get you in trouble, if you hyper focus on one area instead of trying to come up with a few different locations with your digital scouting,
Right.
especially in an area like
What
that.
I tell a lot of my clients is don't focus on just one or two cameras if you can afford it. And even if it takes going to Temu and buying a $10 game camera,
Mm-hmm.
you know, get a bunch of cameras and get them out there in the woods,
Mm-hmm.
because one camera's not going to do you. You can't pattern your deer herd with one or two cameras. Some cameras you're going to get deer on, some cameras are just going to be duds. But the
Mm-hmm.
more eyes that you've got out there, the better.
Absolutely.
So that if you're like a lot of people, you don't have time to deer hunt. You don't have time to scout,
Mm-hmm.
limited time to put into hunting, but you still want to hunt. The more eyes that you have out there, the better.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, just like you said, you can't rely just on the game cameras
Mm-mm.
because that's focusing on one little area right in front of that camera.
Mm-hmm.
Those deer may be walking to the left or they may be walking to the right of that camera. There
Mm-hmm.
may be a trail 20 foot away that you didn't notice that the deer are using, and they're never on that camera, but they're there. So, use the cameras to their advantage, but don't put all of your eggs in one basket as far as cameras go.
Yeah. I've heard a couple different people on podcasts talk about how they just, and I like to use cameras, so
Oh,
I'm
I
not
love
saying
cameras.
I'm not saying get rid of your cameras, but I've heard, and just to kind of insinuate the point you're talking about there about getting eyes on being in the woods and stuff. I've heard a couple people mention that they have found they have, I guess, reinvigorated or found a new passion, a new fire in themselves by just reducing the number of cameras that they have, or not even paying attention to them, and
Yeah,
just going out and scouting, or just going out and not basing their hunts off of what they're seeing on the cameras. Like
right.
they might be running them right, but they're not basing their whole hunt on what they're getting
Yeah.
on the cameras.
Yeah,
And like I'm
they're
getting a
not
little bit.
relying on the cameras as much as they used to, and that's a good thing. I mean, that goes back to using your woodmanship and
Mm-hmm,
using your this up here, what you know as far as deer,
mm-hmm,
and not focusing so much on technology.
yeah. All animals want the same thing, right? All animals they want security, they want cover, they want food, they want water.
Yep.
If you have those, you are probably going to find animals in that area.
Mhm.
Now it's
Mhm.
just up to you to pinpoint good ambush spots. And if you do enough walking around, follow enough trails, you're going to find out how and where they're moving through. And you might have a couple more observation sits. I know a lot of people like, and I understand, like, listen, I have limited days. I just can't go out whenever I want, and not without the anticipation of actually harvesting an animal because I got limited days. But there's something to be said just to do an observation hunt where you go out and you see or an observation sit where you see where animals are doing. And
Mhm.
then you can move yourself into that ambush spot,
Mhm.
um, and be successful. I've done that a couple of times myself. I've changed the location just because of that. And the next morning went out and shot my first trophy, first deer that went on the wall.
Well, and it's funny you should say that because 2 days ago, um, I was out looking at some property and looked at the topo and went out and looked at the lay of the land and I thought, okay, I know these deer are coming down this ridge.
Hmm.
That's the only way to go because you've got a steep hollow this way, you've got a steep hollow this way. And the only way that they can go is down. The only easy way that they can go is down this ridge.
Hmm.
And a deer is opportunistic just like a human is. They're going to take the easiest route if it's a safe route.
Hmm.
They're going to take the easiest route that they can. So I thought, okay, the deer have got to be coming down this ridge. I've got them on a camera a half a mile down this ridge onto my property. So I know that they're showing up there.
Hmm.
Got to be coming, they've got to be coming down here from somewhere. So I sat and I saw probably 3 or 4 deer just on a dry sit. Just sitting in the woods that morning, reading the topography and thinking about how a deer thinks and how are they going to go, that type thing.
Absolutely. So I think it's a good segue because we're in that scouting aspect of it, and we've mentioned already about out of state hunters, not having the resources or to be able to go to an area and scout it for the first time or whatever. This I think is a good segue to kind of introduce or kind of start walking down the path for HuntTrapTN.com. What do you think?
Okay, sounds great.
So obviously you've recognized the need for this. So let's talk a lot about let's dive into it. Let's talk about what you offer.
Okay. One of the products that we offer on HuntTrapTN.com is a plan your hunt option. And what it is, I'm a licensed guide in the state of Tennessee. Got my guide license, that type thing. And I did that with the intention of, hey, I'm gonna take people on some guided hunts to these wildlife management areas, or I was going to take people to the national forest and that type thing, and take them physically. And I got to thinking after I got the guide license, I thought, that's going to take a lot of time, and that's going to take me putting people up in hotels. That's going to I'm going to have to use my 2 days that I'm off guiding people in the woods. I'm 52 years old. I don't need to be tracking all up and down these mountains. I kind of got the license, and then I thought, oh, there's got to be an easier way to do this. So I,
Hmm.
I had been on Facebook groups, and I always see people asking, they'll post a topo map up on the Facebook group, and they'll say, okay, where should I hunt? How should I hunt this piece of property? And you get gazillions of answers, and half of them are wrong, half of them are right, half of them are smart ass answers. Didn't amount to a whole lot of information.
Hmm.
So I thought to myself, what if I could take my knowledge as a deer hunter and take the knowledge that I have gotten over the years as far as reading hunting apps and reading topo maps and knowing about how weather patterns work and how wind and thermals work, and the in and outs of game camera scouting and that type thing. What if I took all that information and put it and made a product that the average DIY hunter could use to plan their hunt, whether they be a first time hunter or a out of state hunter that's never stepped foot on a property, or an elderly hunter that still likes to hunt, but they can't get out there and do the scouting like they used to.
Hmm.
For people that just don't have time to scout, that work every single day, and they've got a Saturday that they can hunt, and they don't have any other time to do it. What if I made something that combined all of that and was able to offer it to the public to get them a scouting package that they could use to kill a deer? And that's kind of where the plan your hunt aspect of HuntTrapTN came about.
Yeah. So I love the idea. I really do. I love the idea to kind of help guide some people in their direction of how they want to hunt an area, especially if they're coming from out of state, or especially like you said, you give really good examples of individuals who would benefit from this type of service. So let's say that, all right, so I want to come down to whatever area I want to hunt to you,
Okay.
or I want to come down, and I'm like, I listen to this podcast, or I've heard you, I've seen you on TikTok, I've seen you somewhere, and I'm like, all right, I want to check this out. Obviously, you don't have to give away the family, you don't have to give away the Bush's, family recipe, right?
Right.
You don't have to go that much detail. But what does the process in a good bird's eye view look like once I start this process with you? So I go to the website and then take it from there.
So you go to the website. Um, we've got three different packages. We've got a solo package, we've got an out of state package, and we've got a season package.
Hmm.
Um, and hold on, sorry.
You're fine.
So we've got those three packages, and what they do is they go in and they pick a package, they purchase the package, they schedule a one-on-one Zoom call with me, and they basically tell me where they're thinking about going to hunt. Say, Sean, I want to focus on Rankin WMA, or the national forest, the Cherokee National Forest in this area. So we'll sit down and we'll talk to them via Zoom. You know, what are your expectations? Where do you want to hunt? What type of hunting do you want to do? Do you want to do archery hunting, muzzleloader, bow hunting? What kind of shape are you in? as far as a hunter? What type of hunting do you like to do? That type thing. So what we do is we get an overview of what they're wanting to look at.
Mm-hmm.
And then we look at Onyx, we look at Google Earth, we look at topo maps, and we say, okay, this area here that you're wanting to hunt, these are your access points. These are your locations where, based on the topography, based on the wind direction, based on the cover, the water sources, we look at everything in that area to give them an idea of the best places to hunt that area. We look at hunting pressure. We look at free rut, post rut patterns, because you
Mm-hmm.
can find all of that online. We take all of that and we build them a custom hunt plan for that area,
Mm-hmm.
and we tell them where to put cameras, as far as where exactly they need to put cameras at based on the topography, where their best stand locations would be, and basically just take all of the information that is provided and condense it into one report
Mm-hmm.
and offer them that.
Hello, everyone. This is Shon Smith of the Chasing Your Experience podcast. We interrupt this episode to let you in on some exciting news. If you're looking to upgrade your mock scrape game this year, then head over to scrapedoctor.com and fill your carts full of scrape magic, maybe a poison ivy or two, just a rope squared, or even just a rope. And then enter the code CountryFried10. That's Country Fried, spelled with a K, the number 10, and save yourself a little bit of money. And now, back to the pod. Okay. So when they get this report, right? So let's say you compile this information for them. So what's the formats that they're looking at? Is this a PDF? Is this some waypoints for Onyx or whatever mapping system? What is it that when this is all said and done, they get?
We pull all of that together.
Okay.
We'll take screenshots. We'll pull all of that together, and after our initial meeting, then we provide them with a report, and then we come back to them on Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
We say, okay, let's throw this map up on the screen. Here's your areas that I think would be good potential areas.
Okay.
Here's where I think you need to park. Here's where I think you need to enter the property.
Mm-hmm.
Based on wind direction, based on cover. This is better for a morning hunt. This is better for an afternoon hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So we sit down with them on a follow-up meeting and throw maps up and give them just a breakdown of the area that they have chosen. And basically we're doing all the scouting for them. We're not doing boots on the ground scouting, but we're doing all of the digital scouting that they need to succeed in a hunt.
It's a good idea, and I love the premise behind it. I've said this like multiple times already. Like, I like the idea of it, especially if I'm coming from an out of state and A, I don't have time to do this, or B, I'm not very well versed in this. Like, I think the biggest issue you're going that let me go on a limb. Let me see if I get this right. Probably the biggest issue you guys run into is someone lies about how in shape they are and their ability to do something, right? And I can't necessarily say that they're lying, but I think they underestimate what the locale is, or they overestimate their abilities.
Right.
I think,
and that's why in the initial meeting, I tell them, be very upfront with me.
mm-hmm.
What is your physical? What is your fitness level?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a big deal. I just need to know so that
Right.
I can plan. Well, do I need to set him up a mile and a half off the road, or do I need to set him up 100 yards off the road? And either way is fine. But I've killed deer close to the road, and I've killed deer way off,
Yes.
but I need to know,
Mm-hmm.
The biggest advantage I think that this offers is just time.
Hmm.
This is not this is not designed for someone that has their own property that spends huge amounts of time on that property. You and I have already said that scouting is a and
Hmm.
if you have the time to do it, by all means do it.
Right.
That's how you're going to kill your big deer. But for the people that don't have that time, or the they're out of state hunters, or they're just don't have the time to do it, this is an option for them.
Well, I mean, so let's look at this. Like, if you want to get a membership, I mean, most people are probably going to end up with a membership to Onyx at a certain point, or some subscription service, mapping service of their choice, right? So they pay into this, but at the same time, like if I'm looking through your pricing, I think your cheapest one's like $100 for what you
Right,
offer, right?
right.
Yeah, it's $100. That's the same price as an elite membership on Onyx is
Exactly,
99.99, right?
exactly.
So if this is something that in I love my Onyx and I love the mapping software, or I know I say Onyx a lot. That's just the one that I use. It doesn't mean that there's not other ones out there. This is just the one that I use. I love it. I have points everywhere, and I pay the $100 subscription for it every year because I use it everywhere, right?
Mhm.
But I get your point here where, like, listen, if this is something that, hey, I don't know if I'm going to be traveling out of state ever again, or this is just kind of one of those things I want to try it out.
Mhm.
I can see the point of getting, I can see the advantage to reaching out to a service like this, just like, especially for an out of state, like, and I don't want to pigeonhole it to just that one thing, but
Right.
I truly see that advantage there. Like, hey, listen, here's a service where not only are you going to get some ideas where to go, but it's also going to give you like, it's just going to give you like a plan to follow.
Yeah. And
You're not just going to get waypoint.
they can even call me and say, "Hey, Sean, I've never been to Tennessee. I want to hunt the Tennessee mountains. Don't know anything about the wildlife management areas. Don't know anything about the
Hmm.
national forest, but I know I want to come hunt some mountain deer.
Hmm.
Where should I go?" And then based on that, we can start narrowing it down to, okay, where's the biggest mountain deer density? You
Hmm.
know, where would be the best shot for this out of state hunter to come in and kill a deer? That type of thing. So
Right.
that's where it comes in at.
Now I'm assuming you're probably pulling records like data off of like your guys' version of DNR, your Division of Wildlife. Yeah, kind
Um,
of get an idea.
pull up deer density records. I pull up harvest records
Hmm.
for certain areas through OnX. I'm going to use the various layers that
Yep.
are with OnX
Hmm.
to drill down in those areas. And a lot of things I run into are people just don't know how to run the damn software. They don't know how to use the app
Hmm.
because you can get really deep into OnX and using the different the different layers and that type thing. And then, not in addition to OnX, I read a lot of slope angles as far
Okay.
as the because you can use slope angle software and it will pretty much show you the way that the deer travel. So it gives you a better breakdown of the topography and the terrain. So there's just a lot of tools that I use to pull everything together.
Yeah, it's not just one. We're not just looking at one thing. Like you're accessing multiple resources.
Yeah.
And I think
Using
you said
using OnX, I'm using HuntStan, I'm using CalTopo, I'm using all these GIS maps, everything that's available out there, I use.
I think you said it best when you say the resource that I'm saving you is time.
Right, right.
And giving you a head start to where you can focus your time and energy towards the actual hunt or some of your other prep, or I take care of this for you,
Yep,
and give you a generalized idea where to go. I think you summed it up best with that statement there is we're saving you time.
yep,
That's
exactly.
so before we go to start closing things out here, because I know there's probably a lot more we could probably cover and I would love to dive deeper into this. And I think we might have to schedule another time together
Oh
and
yeah, absolutely. I'd love that.
maybe do like a mock planning session or something just to kind of give an idea out there. Are there any like, success stories that kind of stick out in your mind from individuals that's been to you and got to their a good hunt plan from you?
I had and I'm not going to use names or
Oh
anything,
no, that's fine. Nope, that's fine.
but I had a guy that just recently texted me, and he was an older gentleman, had been a deer hunter all his life, and wanted to hunt a place over in Arkansas, and told me the area, told me that, gave me the GPS coordinates, kind of gave me the private property, that he wanted to hunt. And he just said, I'm older. I don't know exactly how to hunt this, but I want to get in there and hunt. There's some access roads that I can get in on my UTV. Where do you think would be good places to set up? So I spent some time with him, and he actually lived um, across the state line. I'm not exactly sure how far, but
Mhm.
he was wanting to hunt some property in Arkansas, some family property he'd never been on, but he had access to it now. And so we pulled up the Onyx, and specifically I looked at where the oak trees were and that type thing, because it was going to be an early season hunt, and focused more on feed trees. Got him set up in a white oak stand along the creek, and it was a bow hunt, and he went in and he actually sat on the ground because he didn't really like climbing tree stands anymore. But he sat on the ground on a little raised platform that he had built, and there was a trail that ran through the oak flat along the creek side,
Mhm.
and he shot a 8 point the first morning that he was there. First deer that he had killed in probably
Uh-huh.
5 years,
That's awesome.
and he was beyond excited.
That's it's good to get that type of affirmation though that the hard work and effort because let's put it like yeah it's computer work but it's still hard work on your part too that you're doing and putting in and obviously you're not doing it for yourself like you're doing it to help other people I get that right but it's okay to I tell a lot of people like it's okay to take credit for some of the things that you do like some of the good that you put in the world it's okay to take credit for that right but we don't want to be arrogant. We remain humble, and I get that. But it's good to get that affirmation, like, hey, this idea that I have is actually feasible and it works.
Yeah, it felt really good to help him out. Like I said, he was an older gentleman, reduced mobility,
Mhm.
wanted to continue to hunt, but we had a good spot, but just didn't know exactly how to do it. So we were able to put him in an easy accessible location
Mhm.
on just a low. I wouldn't even call it a tree stand. I mean, it was just a little platform sitting on the ground, and he was able to stick a deer. The first time he was even in there. So
Well,
it worked out
that's
good for him.
it sure did. It sure did. And what is interesting about the, or I guess something I want to highlight on this, that there was no boots on the ground. Like there wasn't, he didn't hire somebody to come in and walk the property and potentially disturb the property because some stranger, and I understand like people don't go in there like purposely try to do it. Like they go in there, they're doing their job, but not disturbing the property. You did this from the comfort of your office or wherever you're doing this from. And this is all data that was collected from online resources.
Yeah, we actually sat in our living rooms over a cup of coffee one night, and he told me what he knew about the property, what he had been told. Like I said, it was an old family property that he had gotten access to, and I think he said he had hunted it as a little boy. But he told me what he could tell me, and then we got our heads together as far as the maps and um, the geographical topo locations and it was a good hunt. I mean, the creek was in a spot where two draws came together, and with an oak flat in there, and it worked out really well. I was glad to help him.
Well, I'm sure he was very happy too and very pleased
He
with the results.
was. He was. I think I was maybe the third person that he called when he shot when he stuck that deer. So he actually called his son to help him pull it out of the woods, and then he called me, and he was like, "Hey, your plan worked out."
Well, that's so. With that being said, so that sounds like it out of state. So even out of Tennessee, and out of your state you're from. So it sounds like you. If I'm going to go on a limb and say it sounds like you deal with more than just like your exact locale. With somebody
I
comes
do.
to you,
I do. I had originally started this thing, and I was going to focus mainly on the southeast, but my main my main advertising platform, if you will, is Facebook. So
Mhm.
it goes everywhere, and I just started picking up people from all over the U.S. and just people messaging me and sending informational emails and that type thing. So
Okay,
it kind of exploded across the United States more than just the Southeast.
gotcha. So do you focus on is this so your focus on deer, or have you done some other species too for people?
It's been mostly deer. I have done some work with some trappers that have wanted to look at topo maps and pull topo maps into their trapping areas and get my ideas on how the animals might filter through and that type thing. And then I actually did a this was actually a little small one that I did for a guy that um, was squirrel he was squirrel hunting, and he wanted to know exactly where all the acorn trees were and everything. And so that was just a small side job that I did for him that I worked with him, and he didn't have access to Onyx and that type
Mhm.
thing. And so I worked with him on that. So it's mostly for whitetail. And
Okay.
hopefully I will get into more species, and we'll just kind of see how that goes.
Be interested to hear your first elk planning.
Yes, right? Yeah, absolutely.
So how
I may
many
have to pull in people to help me with that one.
so the question so let me ask you this then. So how many states have you don't have to name all the states, but how many states have you done plans for then or in? How broad have you gotten?
Well, like I said, I've only had this thing for about 6 months to a year.
Mhm.
I've done 8 states, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, about around that, about 8
Okay.
states.
Yeah, absolutely. The point I'm making is like it's not, it's not just like a short. I mean, yeah, you are focusing. You originally started focusing on the southeast, but it's starting to broaden out for you. So
It
obviously
is,
this
and
is
when the first couple times it was Tennessee and Alabama, and I think I had a North Carolina,
mhm,
but it's starting to branch out more and more as the word gets out there.
gotcha. Nothing. Have you done anything out west, or I mean, not just for I mean, because there's whitetail out west,
I
not a
have
lot.
not.
There are some,
I
but
talked to a guy a couple days ago that was interested in doing something in, I want to say he was from Southern Colorado, maybe,
okay.
but we haven't signed a deal yet or anything yet
Nope.
for that. But there was some interest out there. So
Good deal. So what else do you? So the hunt planning is one aspect you do. So obviously there on the website you have a few other things that are available there. You want to talk a little bit about what else you got going on there?
so I do. I'd originally started the website. I used to do a lot of writing for hunting magazines and trapping magazines and sending articles in to various um, hard copy magazines.
Hmm.
So I do blog articles, probably one blog article a week. So my blog articles are growing there. I have how to videos that are YouTube based that are on there. I have, of course, Plan Your Hunt deal that's starting to grow. I've got a shop that you can get decals and t-shirts and hats and
Hmm.
that type thing there as well. and I'm starting to focus on a fitness side to where I'm doing a side informational area for hunting fitness, trapping fitness, outdoor fitness activities, getting in shape for the hunt, that type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So so there's several different areas that I'm going, but as far as the big thing that I try and do is the plan your hunt. I actually just finished proofing a Kindle ebook that is coming out in the next week or so uh, for a trapping ebook. So be looking for that. It'll be on Kindle and on Amazon. So that's one thing that I'm working on as well. So
Good,
got my
good.
hands in a lot of different areas. So
It's like I'm going a lot of different directions here.
yeah.
So your how-to videos, what do you focus on with your how-to videos? It sounds like you have a
Uh,
pretty good trapping backgrounds.
okay. I do a lot of one of the most popular videos that I have is one that just shows how to recognize trapping signs, how to recognize, you know, in the woods, in the snow, that type thing. I do a lot of videos as far as promoting hunting and trapping products.
Mhm.
I've got several sponsors on my website that I do unboxing videos for, show their different products and that type thing, stuff that I use in the woods that I would recommend to others. So I've got a bunch of unboxing videos on there, how to set up a rope scrape. I've got a video on that on there. Just different things. Try how to set up a dog proof trap. There's just a plethora of different videos out there.
So it sounds like a pretty good catalog you got started there. So if you could, off the top of your head, how many videos do you host off that website of your how-to videos?
There's probably on the website right now, there's probably about 10
Okay.
ones that need to be uploaded to the website and put on the website. There's probably another 20 that I'm still working on. It's always something,
Yeah,
as
I
well.
understand.
It's always a work in progress.
Yeah, I totally understand. Like, I do record videos every now and again. I'm not as hot and heavy in videos as I used to be, but I do record a few on the side, and I've got some
I'm either
ideas.
I'm either writing blog articles, doing videos, or sitting down with people at night to plan their hunt, or
Mhm.
I'm always doing something.
Yeah, I get it. It's when you're that creative aspect of things. Like there's so much things you want to do. It's just getting the time to actually do it. And
Absolutely.
I hear you. I've got so many different ideas. Like, oh, I want to do this, 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 and this. And I can envision it. Like I have the vision of what I want it to be, and then I'm like, it's just getting the time to actually put to
It is.
fruition. And
It
then
is.
after that, it's the editing that's involved after that. So it does
Anybody that
appear
says
exactly what
having a anybody that says having an internet blog business and online presence is easy is lying to you because it's hard.
well, to be anything, and you are 100% correct. To be good at any of these things, like first off, it's a time commitment. You have to spend time doing it, right? And it's nothing that is an instant success. Like there are very few examples of people who might have been an instant success. A lot of the time is you're just writing for yourself, or you're, much like the podcast here. A lot of this is I'm doing this for my own personal, but not my own personal gain. Let me rephrase that because that didn't sound
Your
right.
own personal satisfaction.
But I'm doing this for myself, but also the side mission of this though is that eventually my day is going to be done while I'm here, right? And then now my kids are going to have a record, or my loved ones are going to have a record of me, of who I was, and it's to give them a chance to remember who I was, years down the road once I've been long gone, you
Right.
know. But also the idea is to connect with people and to inspire them to get out and enjoy not necessarily what I do exactly how I do it, but to go out and chase their own what what they want to do, right? And inspire them to get out there and then connect them to the resources that they need, or resources that can help them with that. So
Well, and
I get it.
here's the way I look at it. Whether if you're in a if you're in a public service field, be it a firefighter, paramedic, police officer, your ultimate goal is to help people. And this
Mhm.
is just a natural extension of that.
Yes.
We're doing this to help people, to help them enjoy something that they love to do.
Mhm.
And I think that's just a natural extension of who we are. Um, as far as that goes. Because my ultimate goal is, do I want this to be successful? Yes. Would I love for this to develop into something that I could retire on and that type thing? Yeah, that'd be great. But at the end of the day, people enjoy reading my blog articles. They appreciate the help that they're given with
Mhm.
the planning, the hunting plan product. They appreciate the information they're given with the videos. And that's all I'm really here for. That's kind of the long and short of it.
No, I totally get it. And, too many people, when they get an idea, they want to be involved with something, they want to start something. And I think too many of us, they after their first year, or not even their first year, they're a couple months in and it's not getting the traction, the instant success that they thought they should have gotten. And then they just leave it. They're done. And unfortunately, let me rephrase this. Fortunately, like, it does take time to build, you know, and there are a lot of avenues out there. And I'm gonna pick on TikTok for a minute. So there are a lot of avenues out there where they want you to pay money to promote your stuff. So, hey, pay us $20 and we'll make sure you get 9,000 to 10,000 views on this video.
Right.
Okay, I understand that, but here that's not really, in the end, that's not going to help you grow at all.
Oh,
Those are just views of people that don't, most of them probably don't even care what you're showing, what you're doing.
that's right.
And if you're going to build something that's going to be a success, that's going to have long-term success, it's going to have to be built from the ground up, and you're going to have to grind through
100%.
those. You're going to have to grind through those 100 view videos, or those 100, or maybe those 50 like moments. Like, you're going to have to grind through those, because eventually it starts to build, and it will build, and it will build if you just keep at it, and
Right.
you stay true to yourself. Because there's a lot of times, a lot of people just don't stay true to themselves, and they start to chase what they think people want, and it loses the authenticity, and you're done.
What I have learned, Sean, is when it comes to, and I guess we're kind of switching gears a little bit, talking
Just a
business.
little bit. We'll come back.
But I mean, as far as internet marketing goes, you can do the ads to get traffic, but that traffic doesn't stay around. The organic traffic that you do, the relationship building that you do,
Mhm.
that's what sticks around. That's what grows your business. These clicks that you get on TikTok and that type thing, they're not going to go back and talk about your product. They're not going to, they're where you're going to build the relationships is organically and
Mhm.
slowly. It's not anybody that tells you that the internet is whether it be a blog, whether it be a podcast, whether, whatever, it's not a get rich quick scheme. It's relationship building. And that's
Mhm.
that's what a lot of people, like you said, they try it for a year and they put all this money into ads and crap like that, and it doesn't work for them, and then they're gone.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think I have run. I did Facebook ads when I first started the Facebook
Mhm.
page, just to build traction and to gain followers. And I think I only did it for a month just to build up my following. And I was very specific when I marketed it. I said, I want hunters, I want outdoorsmen, I want fishermen, I want these specific people. I don't want every Tom, Dick, and Harry. And then after that, I was done. Everything that I've done thus far has been organic. TikTok is a great tool, but I don't think that you need to spend money on it. You just need to spend time on it.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
Yeah.
And it
No.
all goes back again to, just like I said, helping people, giving value to people.
Well, I'm gonna piggyback off what you said, and that it's if you are in it to make money, like it's going to come across as that, and there's not going to be any authenticity when this is your only sole purpose is I'm here to make money,
Right.
and that's going to show eventually. Like it is going to show. If you're not here, it's the public service mindset, and it's a few others. Like if you're not here for the right reasons, you're going to fail really
Right.
quickly,
Right.
and you're going to be sniffed out. And I agree with you 100%. Like, would I love to see this grow up and to be, some type of a revenue source to where it's not me just I don't, I don't throw a lot of money at it, but it's an expenditure for me right now. Like
Yeah.
there's no revenue generated by what I'm doing,
Right.
and I'm okay with that. I'm not saying that I need it now. That's not what I want. My goal, like I said, is this is my opportunity to reach people who I may never even talk to before, to talk to people, to connect people, and just to continue that kind of inner mission, that inner why that I that I do, that I need to do, is why this is for. And if it goes somewhere, it goes somewhere. If not, hey, you know what? I'll have fun sitting here looking at my computer screen and talking to myself for as long as I need to. So,
Exactly. Exactly.
but but man, I'm glad you took the time to sit down and talk with us today. And we're not done yet, but I just wanted to just get that out there and just let you know I do appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. So
I've definitely enjoyed it.
you're involved in a lot of different things, and you got your blog that you're running there. I've looked at like blogging before, and I've tried writing a few articles, and I think I had a couple bites here and there, but never really pursued a whole lot of that. So that's a whole nother animal there. And especially in today's world, I think unfortunately a lot of that, there's not very many outdoor magazines that exist anymore. The
Right.
ones that do are all part of a big conglomerate, and they're all like compacted. Like, you had Peterson's bow hunting
Yep.
now folded into just bow hunter. They've
Yeah.
were taken over there. It's just, that's an interesting aspect. So how's the writing going for you? Pretty good.
It's going good. I've started to use Facebook a lot, asking for ideas as
Okay.
far as what people want to hear about and that
Hmm.
type. So it takes time. There's some days that I can push out a blog post real easy. There's some days that it takes me 3 or 4 days to do it.
Hmm.
It just kind of depends. And I find too, the more that I get out in the woods and the more that I see stuff that I want to talk about, the easier it is to write.
Hmm.
So probably once season comes in here in Tennessee and I get out there and I'm actually, doing some trapping and doing some hunting and that type thing, the blog articles will come easier for me.
Yeah. Well, and this could be all your content that you're doing. Like it could be your blogs, it could be your videos, it could be this. Do you get more traction from the stuff that people ask you to do, or are you getting more traction from the stuff that that you did on your own?
Probably that I do on my own. But it's off the cuff stuff. It's
Hmm.
driving, going through the woods and putting out a camera and realizing, hey, this would be a good opportunity to make a video. Or, and it may be something as simple as, hey guys, this is Shon with HuntTrapTN. I'm out here in the deer woods today, setting up a camera. Just wanted to show you this trail that I found. It runs east to west. It's along the crest of this ridge. Let's put up this camera and see what we see. And that starts off, a whole new video. And then, you throw it on TikTok or you throw it on Facebook, and then you can follow that up with pictures from the camera. You can follow that up with a blog post. I mean, it builds on itself.
Hmm.
So sometimes it's just the simple things.
Yeah.
It's the off the cuff things that work really well.
Right.
So
I've noticed that a couple times. Some of the stuff that I've done too is like, you know, some of the stuff I put a lot of like, and I'm not complaining, but a lot of stuff, I've got a couple like, last year I did a kind of like an opening day, more of a short film type production type thing
right,
versus a lot of my off the cuff just stuff. And I mean, it didn't do, in my mind, I'm like, man, hopefully it'll gain a little bit of traction. It didn't do as well as some of the stuff I just went out and just did,
Yeah,
you know.
just did.
So
Yeah, yeah.
I
Well,
get that.
I think if the more, this is going to sound crazy, the more professional you try and make it, the less people want to see it.
I think you're right there.
You know what I
And
mean? I
yeah,
mean, I think people enjoy knowing that as a creator, you are just like them. Does that
yeah.
make sense?
No, it makes total sense. I hear what you're saying.
You know, it's the videos that I've gotten more traffic on are the videos where I've got my dog running through the picture, or my kid coming up to me asking me a question about something, or I think people want to see that you're real,
Yeah,
and that you're relatable to them, and that
yeah,
they can relate to you. Um,
yeah.
that's just my personal opinion.
No, I think you're spot on with that. I think there's the connection there they're looking for, because if you see the polished person on the TV, that's one, like, that's okay. So I see a personality of you, but what are you? Who are you really? You
Right.
know, what is it that you're not? Because everybody can go to the used car salesman. He's going to have or he or she's going to have a great personality, and they can sell you snake oil. But meeting that person that is relatable or is real, you know, that there's a big difference there in that connection that you can have there. So I think you're spot on with that.
Absolutely.
I think you really are. Well, Sean, is there anything else you want to cover while we got you on the air, my man? I
I'm
think
good.
we
I appreciate you having me. I would encourage people to go to our website, HuntTrapTN.com, and check us out and see what we're all about. And if we can help you, just let us know. Like I said, we're on TikTok and we're on Facebook, and all you got to do is just type in HuntTrapTN, and it'll bring you to our social media channels. They're pretty easy to find.
awesome, awesome, and Sean, I appreciate you taking the time. I'll just say, you know how weird it is for me to sit here and like, okay, Sean, hi, Sean, how are you, Sean? Like I'm using my name.
Right, right. I thought when I first saw your name, I thought, well, maybe I need to tell him that my middle name is Eric, and we can use that one on the podcast. I mean, on the podcast, so it'll be easier.
No, it's all right. It's actually, it is what it is. I work with a Sean too. So, and it's a she is a
Yeah.
Sean, and she spells it SHAWN. You're SHON. I'm SEAN. It's just
Yep.
the hardship of being a Sean and
That's
being
right. That's
14.
right.
I will say this: I'm the one that has the correct spelling of it, though. I'm
Oh, there you go. Okay.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I'll
So
take that.
all the
Take that.
SHAUNs out there, like, oh,
Uh-huh.
but Sean, I really do appreciate you taking the time to sit down and chat with us. And I really do think I would like to work with you a little bit more. Maybe let's do an episode together that we kind of do a hunt plan.
Okay.
We'll pick a spot or whatever, and we'll work on this. I'll be in touch with you via email, and I'll talk to you a little bit more off the air about that. But I think, ladies and gents, I really seriously think you need to keep an eye out for that episode, because I think that is going to happen. So folks, pay attention. That is coming. But like I said, Sean, thank you so much for being on the air and joining us. And I look forward to some upcoming episodes with you, at least one more.
Yep.
And folks, I can't express enough how much I appreciate you guys taking the last hour or so to sit and listen to Sean and I talk about Sean's experience in the outdoors and the services he offers through HuntTrapTN. If you are that DIYer, or if you're looking for a time hack to help you plan your hunt, check out HuntTrapTN.com. Schedule that hunt plan with Sean and his team, and they'll get something put together for you. And you heard it here first, or not, maybe not first, but you heard it here that it is successful. But like I said, we appreciate you guys taking the last hour and a half to talk to us. I know your guys' time is very valuable, and I don't take it lightly that you chose to spend that time with us here on the Chasing Your Experience podcast. Make sure you check us out on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Instagram and TikTok is Countryfied Outdoors. The YouTube channel is Countryfied Outdoor Productions, all spelled with a K. Make sure you check us out there. Make sure you like and follow the show, and share it with your friends. That's the way that this will help us get the word out to more people to help them chase the experience that they're looking for. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, until our experiences cross paths again. May you have the courage to fail, but yet the humility to learn. And as always, we hope you stay safe out there, and God bless you. Thank you for listening to the Country Fried Outdoors Chasing Your Experience podcast. Before you go, don't forget to leave us a review and follow the show on the podcast platform of your choice. Are you hungry for more Country Fried Outdoors? Then follow us on Instagram at Country Fried Outdoors or subscribe to our YouTube channel at Country Fried Outdoor Productions.